this is the video I promised you about how I reclaimed my health in 2017. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about the problems that I have dealt with, and then I'll tell you how I helped get rid of a lot of them, or at least make them a lot better. After I had my kids, my son is 18 years old, my daughter's 15. After I had my son, I lost, a decent amount of weight. Of the 50 pounds I gained, I lost 25 after he was born, and I kept at that pretty much that weight until I had my daughter. After she was born, I think I lost like 6 pounds. I just couldn't, get it to come off. Didn't seem like it, no matter what I did. Of course, I also had a sick baby. She had a lot of stomach issues, and it was really hard trying to find a way to help her feel better. So the first couple of years, I wasn't thinking about anything except helping her feel better. And then I started homeschooling my children when my son was, homeschooled him from the minute he was born, to be honest. I even read to him before he was born, but I was focusing on my kids, and I was focusing on being, a homeschool mom, and doing all the field trips, and teaching my children, some art and some crafting. And I did teach an art class for our homeschool group, and that was teaching. That wasn't doing it myself for fun, So the last 15 years or so, I hadn't really, I'd say the 10 years of that, I hadn't really done anything. And when my daughter was, I think she was about 10, it was 2012, so she was 10, we were going to study early American history, and I decided I wanted to do spinning and weaving, and so to teach her about that, and I found some good deals on a spinning wheel and a loom, and so we've done that, and we enjoyed doing that together. But by 2015, my back was hurting so bad that I only did the spinning when our guild did demonstrations, or when someone asked me to teach them how to spin. And or at Spinzilla, I didn't spin the rest of the time because it just hurt my back too much. And weaving pretty much stopped altogether in 2015. I was very, very heavy. I still have some weight that I would like to lose now, but at that time, I'm 4'11", so I'm not very tall, and I weighed 202.8 pounds January 2nd of 2017. But let me go back a little bit before that. I had been dealing with migraines, with depression, with terrible knee pain and ankle pain, and plantar fasciitis, and then migraines that were just constant. I always, every day, had a headache, but at least once a week it was a migraine that would keep me in bed a couple of days, and it was very hard. I felt like a terrible mother. Luckily, by that time, my kids really were able to read the books and do the schoolwork with me just monitoring and not actually having to teach, and that was a huge blessing in those years. But I got to the point where I couldn't bend over and pick anything up because it would throw my back out. So my kids were doing an awful lot more around the house than I really wanted them to. I wanted to be able to do more. It was hard to cook, so we were eating a lot of fast food, which didn't help things. But it was a hard time. And so I got to the point where I got to worrying that it was December 23rd. I'll tell you exactly what day it was, when I just had this horrible epiphany, and I thought epiphanies were good, but this one was not good. When I realized that my kids might not feel like they could leave home and go live their own lives because of how much I needed their help and how hard a time I had doing things around the house. And I was afraid also that I might need them to stay, and I hated that. I hated that thought. And I was just praying. I'll be honest, I was praying. I had tried different kinds of things. I tried giving up sugar. I tried the Whole30, and that was in 2015. And if I could have had somebody cook for me that way, and I just had to eat it, I would have probably could have lived that way for the rest of my life. But I had to cook it. I had to chop all those vegetables. I had to make all the mayonnaise and make the ketchup and make the everything. And it was just not something that was sustainable for me. My back hurt every minute of every day, the 2 months that we did that. And I finally just gave up and thought, well, this was my last chance, you know. I don't know what to do now. I did stop eating a lot of breads because I did realize after we did the Whole30 for 2 months that when I started eating pizza or hamburgers again, not all hamburgers, but you know, the ones with really good bread, those were the ones that made me sick. Pizza made me sick, unless it was a very, very thin crust I made it myself at home. But like Pizza Hut or whatever, the kind that everybody else liked, I couldn't eat. So I was giving up a lot of the grains already, just because I was learning by the Whole30 that they weren't good for me. I wasn't eating as much sugar, but I was still eating sugar because, like I said, I'd given up. I was eating a lot of fruit because on the Whole30 they recommend eat fruit, you know, fruit, veggies, and meat at pretty much every meal. And so when I gave up on that, you know, that was what I thought was the last thing I could do. But after a couple of days after I prayed, it was not Christmas Day, but I think the day after, I saw a newsletter from Dr. Mercola that I'd been getting it for a long time. And to be honest, I'd seen him talk about intermittent fasting for a long time, but I just wasn't ready to go there, I guess, to be honest. But he talked about a book by Dr. Jason Fung called The Complete Guide to Fasting. And why, you know, I really believe God told me, this is what you need. Get this book. Because, like I said, I hadn't been interested in even intermittent fasting. This was just fasting. You know, it was a little scary. And so I went and ordered the book from Amazon. And when it came, I read it through in one evening. And I found, he talked about the website, dietdoctor.com. And so I went to that website, and they have a membership where you get, the first month's free, and after that it's $9 a month. And I thought, well, I'll just look at this, I'll get my free month, and I'll just look at what they've got to say. And listening to all those videos and watching those doctors talk about the low carb, high fat, or I like to think of it as low carb, healthy fat, because when you're losing weight, you don't need high fat, you just need healthy fat. But anyway, watching and hearing all the stories and testimonials about people who got rid of their diabetes, got off of all their diabetes medicines, their high blood pressure went away, their heart problems went away, their pain went away, their fibromyalgia went away. I mean, everything, it seemed like migraines went away, the GERD went away, all the things that the diabetes I was afraid of. I hadn't been to a doctor in a long time, so I hadn't been diagnosed. But I'm pretty sure I had high blood sugars. Whether they were diabetes level or not, I don't know. But they were high, I'm sure. But I watched all those videos, and I thought, okay, this is what I need to do. And I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it well. I'm going to be committed to this because I've got to regain my health. And I talked to my husband, and I said, January 2nd, I'm going to start this. And he said, well, you mean we're going to start this? He said, when you did protein power way back before you wanted to lose a little weight so it'd be easier to get pregnant, I did that with you. When you did the Whole30, I did that with you. He said, why would I not do this with you? I need it too. And so we started together on January 2nd. It was just a few weeks. I hadn't really lost a lot of weight, maybe 10 pounds. Before I realized I had so much more energy. I had been living my life exhausted 24/7, and to have energy and to look up from what I was doing and notice it was 10:30 at night and I probably should go to bed, that was a completely new experience for me, and I was just in shock by that. I noticed that my migraines were gone, except one time I got into a place where there was a lot of chemical smells, and that does me in. And so I did have a migraine, but it only lasted one day, not the 2 or 3 that I was used to. And I had very few other headaches, and that was just 2 or 3 weeks in. And then I noticed, in a few more weeks that I could go upstairs without having to haul myself up by the rail, and my feet weren't bothering me, and so I was having a lot of health benefits from eating this way that I noticed pretty early on before we had lost much weight. So I feel like the health benefits are not from losing weight; they're from getting rid of the insulin resistance or training your body to not produce so much insulin. The low carb, healthy fat, or low carb, high fat lifestyle basically is giving up sugars and carbs, because anytime you put a carb in your mouth, it becomes sugar. Now, some carbs, like the vegetables and a few berries and those kinds of things, especially the leafy vegetables, the non-starchy vegetables, they don't turn to sugar quickly like the other things. But bread and pasta and potatoes and all the things I've been living on, they pretty much turn to sugar the minute you salivate. So I learned to get rid of those things, and it was way easier than I thought it would be. I really thought I would miss them. I really thought I would crave them. Every time I've done any kind of diet thing before, I craved Coca-Cola, specifically vanilla Cokes from Sonic, constantly. I would drive by Sonic and go, oh, Sonic. But this time, I didn't have that experience. It was like, I might think, oh, that would taste good, but I didn't crave it. I didn't feel like I needed it. I wanted it. It didn't capture my brain all day long. Bread and pasta were easy for me to give up because I had already learned to cook zucchini noodles for spaghetti, and to make a zucchini lasagna instead of a noodle lasagna when we were doing the Whole30. And so I really got a lot of benefit cooking-wise out of doing the Whole30 that we did a couple of years ago. But even then, because I was eating the fruit, I really believe that's what it was. Because I was eating the fruit, my body was still getting those carbs that are turned to sugar real quick, and so it was still craving all the carbs. But this time, when I cut those out, I didn't have that problem. I wasn't craving the carbs anymore. And I'll just be honest with you. November of 2016, my daughter wanted to take a walk to the little convenience store 2 blocks away, and she wanted me to go with her. And I hadn't done that in a long time. My son had always gone with her before because he's older and big, and I felt like it was fairly safe for them to go by themselves. But she wanted me to go with her, and so I decided I would do it. But by the time I got there, 2 blocks, I didn't know if I was going to make it home. My feet hurt, my back hurt, my knees hurt. I was exhausted. I did make it home, but then I went to bed. Just a walk, 2 blocks and back. And so now let's get to March. Okay, March of 2017. It's like 5 months later. I told my husband I want to go for a walk. We walked past the convenience store, 3 blocks further to the park, around the park a couple of times, and then back home. And I was tired, but it was a good, healthy tired. It wasn't exhausted, painful tired. And that was when I knew I really was on the way to recovery. I really was healing my body by giving it good proteins and good healthy fats and very few carbs. The carbs we eat are mostly cruciferous vegetables and salads. Broccoli and sugar snap peas steamed is one of my mainstays, and then a big salad with lots of vegetables in it. Those were the kinds of things, spinach and romaine lettuce, no iceberg lettuce. That stuff's useless for your body. But eating that way was healing me. We got a blood sugar monitor, a blood pressure monitor, and we checked all those things, and they were all normal. My blood pressure had gone from high to normal, to the same normal I had before I had my children. I can't tell you what an amazing thing it's been. I still have some back problems. That's probably never going to go completely away. I still, a lot of stairs will make my knees begin to hurt, but I can do it. I still have a lot of sensitivities to chemicals and perfumes, and my sensitivity to MSG has just gotten even worse. So I just stay away from that. It's bad for you anyway. In fact, I found out doing this that the MSG will raise your insulin 300% more than whatever food you're eating. So stay away from MSG if you can. You have to almost cook at home in order to do that, and we don't eat out very much because of it. We have a steakhouse here in town that we like to go to, because we don't eat out but maybe twice a month. We can actually go there and eat. But so a good ribeye with all the fat that comes with it, and steamed broccoli with whatever kind of seasonings they put on it, and lots of butter. It's delicious and it's satisfying, and we're just happier and healthier than we've been in a long, long time. So if you're struggling with the kinds of things that my GERD went away too. I've had reflux for years. I was on Prilosec for like 20 years, and then Nexium for the last 5. But by May 1st of this year, of 2017, I had gotten rid of all those medications, and I wasn't taking painkillers anymore. My back still hurts, but I don't have to take painkillers for it. I just put a heating pad or an ice pack and sit in my recliner for a couple of hours, and it gets better. That was not happening before. Even with the painkillers and the ice packs and the regular chiropractic visits and everything I did, it was so miserable that some nights I couldn't even lay down to sleep, because my back hurt so bad that it hurt worse to lay down than it did to stand up or sit up. And I would find myself fidgeting everywhere I went. I would fidget. I would put my hand back. I just couldn't be comfortable. And I still have a few days like that when I do way too much. I find myself doing things without thinking now, because I feel so much better. And so sometimes I get myself in trouble, but it, by the next morning it's gone. It feels better. And that didn't happen before. I don't have knee problem. My knees don't hurt now. The problem I have going upstairs now is just the fact that my legs are not real strong. The muscles in my legs are not real strong. And so I can feel those muscles hurt when I'm trying to go, the tendons, but it's not that knee joint hurting anymore. I don't feel like I'm just putting, bone to bone to get up the stairs. About almost everything in my life has been better. I have more patience with my children. I'm just happier. I feel more peaceful and calm. I don't get frustrated at every little thing. And all of this, I really believe, has to do with giving up the grains and the sugars and the fruits and the legumes, except for snow peas and sugar snap peas and green beans, because those have so much of a pod with them that they're not, you're not just eating the bean. And so they all that fiber that comes with those, that extra fiber, really makes them easier on your body. I could probably go on and on and on about this, but I'm going to stop here. I just want you to know that if you're interested in trying this to see if it'll work for you, as amazingly as it's worked for me and my husband, he didn't have all the health issues I had, but he was beginning to think, I'm getting old, and I guess being tired all the time and not wanting to do anything is just part of getting old and being fat. And now he's so much more energetic. He's more productive at work. He's more eager to go do things with the kids. We both have just gained so much and lost nothing. Bread and pasta just don't even look good anymore. I look at it and I think, that's just going to make me hurt. And I'll be honest with you, if I eat something with sugar in it, I feel it in my back. That's when my back hurts the worst, is if I give in to that craving for something sweet. I do it every once in a while, because when I don't have anything planned for the next day, because I want this to be a lifestyle that's sustainable for me long term, for the rest of my life. So when I do have something that is off plan, I just own it, and I don't feel guilty about it. Because if you feel guilty about it, then you think, oh, I've messed up and I'm such a horrible person. I can't ever do this. and you just give in more. But if I own it and say, okay, that was good, I enjoyed every bite, it was delicious, and now I'm going back to eating keto, eating low carb, high fat, like I've been doing, and it hasn't been a problem for me. I know that there are some amazing ladies that I watch on YouTube. Go Keto with Casey and Keto Under 20 with Sarah. Both of those ladies, they never cheat. They never cheat. I don't cheat. I do it on purpose. It's not cheating for me. It's a decision. But they don't do that at all. And there are, and I know some people can't do that because it leads to a snowball effect of just falling off the wagon altogether. And so I'm not advocating eating a sweet thing or a brownie or something every once in a while, because some people can't do that. You have to learn that for yourself. I can do that every once in a while, but believe me, it's rare. It's every once in a while. And when I do, then the very next thing I put in my mouth is something healthy and good for me, and I don't worry about it. I don't, have to live with regrets because of it. Anyway, those are some wonderful ladies to watch if you want to learn more about this and how to eat this way. Also, Dr. Jason Fung's book, The Complete Guide to Fasting. You can get it on Amazon, and it's well worth the money. It's an easy read. It's really not hard to read. There are a lot of testimonials in there. He gives some science and behind it and how he came to prescribing this for his diabetes patients. And then dietdoctor.com. It's a website by Andreas Ensfeldt. I'm not sure how you say that exactly. He's a doctor in Sweden, and he's got this website that has amazing amounts of information on it. It has all kinds of testimonials. It has scientific information. It has information from doctors who prescribe this way of eating for their patients, and the stories about how they've healed themselves and their patients. And it's an amazing resource, and I would recommend anybody go get that 1 month free, and then you can cancel if you want to. I didn't. I have to admit, we're paying for month 13 right now, and I don't mind doing that. I don't go there as often as I did the first few months, but I'm glad to donate $9 a month to help keep that going and get the word out to people. So if you think this can help you, or you're just looking for an answer because you couldn't find it anywhere else, I've been there, and this is what helped me, and I hope it will help you. If you want to know more about it, or you can go those places, or you can comment below, and I'll try to answer questions if I can. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm just somebody who's found a way to eat that healed their body. But I'll be glad to answer any questions that I can. Thank you. Blessings to you today.